the humble paintball pod. They are the lifeblood of this sport. Perhaps the most successful species in the history of the great sport of paintball, so abundantly prevalent in our environment, their presence is often taken for granted. Mere births, lives and deaths, but a mere mystery to the average player. These utilitarian vessels have evaded close study up until now. Our story begins in a pro shop in Ware, New Hampshire. Our juvenile subject, having recently arrived, joins the teeming throngs of other new pods. This is a delicate moment in their young lives. They must find a human host within a few days, or face expiration by starvation. Our pod, desperate for a host, makes a bold move. This daring display pays off. Having been selected, our pod leaves the safety of the nest and embarks on his first steps in this paintball ecosystem. The first, feeding. A glorious intake of nutrients for our adolescent pod. This pod will need regular feedings if he is to grow strong. Our scientists are just beginning to understand the manner of sustenance sustaining the pod community. Once filled, the food-grade gelatin paintballs come into contact with the pod's stomach lining. The pod will have minutes to hours to absorb life-sustaining calories and vitamins. In return, our pod provides a vital service, disgorging its contents during the most critical moments of a firefight. And thus our pod begins fulfilling its destiny. Fitted into a butt pack, this eager tube of paint conveyance ventures out onto the paintball battlefields. After several of his pack compatriots have carried out their hopper refilling duties, it is finally his turn. However, here, on the cusp of a new life, tragedy strikes. Our pod falls forgotten to the forest floor. Winter is fast approaching, and having failed to secure a gear bag den for the off-season, he must suffer and perhaps meet his demise. A bitter twist to his story, this may be the end of his life. He will suffer exposed and alone through a brutal New Hampshire winter. The unfortunate reality is that many pods are lost to the wilderness. The tremendous stress of a firefight for their human hosts often cause pods to be abandoned under duress. But his plastic shell is hard, and his resolve is strong. He will attempt to endure for months, desperately bidding for a rescue. Our pod emerges from a frozen coma-like state to the winds and rain of spring. A fortuitous moment arrives. His leafy purgatory has been discovered during a scenario game, and he is rescued by a thrifty player. Fortune once again smiles on our protagonist. Not only has he re-entered the pod feeding cycle, he has stumbled into the most abundant feeding grounds, the speed-ball field. Here he may feed and discharge upwards of 10 times each day. Here our pod enters the primacy of his life. His host will be providing him with regular feedings. His on-field work is exemplary and has earned him a spot in his host's regular rotation. Once again, the trajectory of his life takes another turn. A new predator has entered the picture. Tubis Larcenius, aka the pod goblin, a lower life form of the paintball world. His act of theft is unexpected, but ultimately irrelevant to our pod. Over his lifetime, our pod will change hands many times. After several seasons, he is a true veteran of the sport and has acquired plumage in the form of colourful decals. Ironically, these are meant to distinguish him from the masses and further cement the ownership of his current host. These will do little to save him changing hands regularly. He now stands as an alpha pod in the staging areas. The other younger pods look to him for leadership and protection. Our pod's life will unexpectedly enter its next chapter, for our pod has found a mutual admiration. Their courtship is brief but productive. Soon, a fine clutch of podlets has arrived. They are healthy, and with some luck, they will become the next generation of pods to drive the sport of paintball forward. However, our pod is not one for the parenting lifestyle, and will soon return to his primary business. Now, many seasons old, this proud pod has seen scenario games, beginner tournaments, and 1v1s. It has even reached Division 2 status at a national event. And although it shows the toll of its many accumulated seasons, it would not be unusual for it to continue in its service to paintball for many years to come. But sadly, fate has another surprise in store for our veteran of the paint wars. At last, this proud warrior of the turfed world has succumbed to its age and usage, for lid breakage is the one injury from which there is no return. Not granted the grace of a proper burial, our pod's remains are placed in the rubbish bin. No fanfare, no speeches, no ceremony to see it go gently off into the night. The sport shall continue with the passing of our pod having gone unnoticed. But we shall remember everything it gave to this great sport.